Here's how I turned this work tape into this next level demo. One of the most important aspects of us sharing our music is having a high quality representation of our songs, because yes, a great song is a great song, but when it comes down to comparing a work tape or just a phone recording to a polished, high quality demo recording, the demo recording is always going to win. And as we're doing this in our own home studios, we have the opportunity to not just do a good demo, but we can make a great demo and something that I'm calling a next level demo, taking our demo to that next level, the highest possible way to share our song. Because ultimately, if our songs are getting pitched, if our songs are getting shared, we want them to stand out. And the way we can do that is by digging in. So in this video, I wanted to go into a demo that I've recently done for a talented artist named Hannah Stott and show you how I took it from a phone work tape, which is what many of us have, bring it all the way to a next level demo. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I've got something special to share with you, how you can do this for your own demos. And whether you're recording for your next release or you're creating stems for worship, this video will help give you the tools you need to be able to create the highest level representation of your song. Hey, I'm Brian, a producer, songwriter, artist, and worship leader. I create content on this channel to help other people just like me do the same thing. So let's jump into Logic and get started. So as I played in the top of the video, basically all that I had was a work tape that was just recorded during the writing session, and there was no click, there was no tracks, it was just the bare bones work tape that many of us have in our phones. So basically I needed to go in and recreate it to the click and then start building based off the chord progression. So Hannah did send me over that they wanted it to be at 90 BPM in the key of C major, and there was a numbers chart. So I was able to go in and start building around that. So the first thing I want to do kind of to establish the rhythm was just build a simple stomp and clap track. So basically I just grabbed the stomps. Actually, it was kind of cool. It was within Logic. I just typed in stomps and there was actually a sample instrument. So I just used my MIDI controller to kind of build a simple pattern. And then I grabbed one of my pre-built drum kits and added this stomp and kick pattern. So the next element, obviously wanted to get some chords. So I pulled up the classic Logic E piano. It's literally the first one that shows up, and just basically played through the entire arrangement based on the numbers chart, because I thought it fit the vibe. I went ahead and doubled that E piano with an actual piano. As you can see, you know, I don't have any processing. It's just an Analog Labs piano here, one of my kind of go-to pianos. And this is a great tip. I do this all the time. Once I've created my main arrangement, I don't go back and usually play through. And you could do that, and maybe if keys is your main instrument or guitar is your main instrument or wherever it is, you know, in your programming, you want to play through for some variation. But I've just found, especially for quick demos like this, I just copy down the track and change the patch. So it's a great pro tip. Next element down is I wanted to play in some actual acoustic guitar because we wanted this to have a very kind of organic feel. So I went in and tracked some acoustic. We already have a lot kind of coming together with this one. The following element, I wanted to continue to build out kind of this band arrangement before I started adding on top of it. So I ended up playing in some bass guitar just because I'm a bass player and I love playing bass guitar, and I thought that it served the song well. So I'm going to go to a section a little bit further down where there's more going on here. This section of the song, I started to build out the actual drum pattern, which is very simple, but since we're on it, I'll just go ahead and show you what that sounds like. Basically matching that stomp pattern, so you can hear that as it's happening here too. And I always like to build these tracks as a band. Maybe it's because I grew up in bands and I play on worship teams now, but I always think about what people are actually on the stage, especially for a song like this that is kind of a fun, up-tempo worship song, that I'm thinking about, okay, if I'm on the stage, who's there? I've got drums, I've got bass, I got keys, and I've got acoustic guitar. So I built it from there, and then I started adding additional percussion elements, so let's check that out. So next thing I added in was this ride sample in the chorus here. Again, kind of building out this full band sound. So because this is kind of a happy, upbeat song, I added a bunch of percussion elements like snaps and claps and tambourines and shakers, so you can kind of hear how much this lifts the track. I added a bunch of swells because I think that's really important for the tension and release of music, so you can kind of hear what these are doing here. And just little cymbal swells go a long way. I call them swellaments. Then here in the bridge, there was this kind of groove happening, and I'll show you. So I added this little hi-hat loop. So there's actually not a lot of hi-hat in this song, so here's what it sounds like without it. So add it in here. And then I had this at this kind of down chorus here at the end. I just wanted, it sounded cool. I just wanted one more element of rhythm. So I actually found a cajon right here in Logic. I just searched cajon, and there was this cajon performance. So I was able to play in a cajon part with my MIDI controller. And in context, just added such a cool extra element of just groove there. So as you can hear, we really have a powerful music bed here, and these last few elements before we get to the vocals are some additional programming, some additional layers just to kind of push it. And again, this is all about the next level demos, because I know that for my own work, I really enjoy doing this. So I take a demo, and when I push it to this next level, it honestly has been a significant way that my songs have been heard, and I know that I'm not the only one who's experienced that. So it's worth taking the extra time. So once I get to this point of the project, I always like to add some level of lead line throughout it, because it just kind of makes more signature parts, because otherwise it's just chords moving around. So I always like to make lead lines. So in this case, I wrote a little piano lead line here in context. But then I always like to add in a secondary instrument. That way it can become more custom. So now these two together. I picked a sound that just fit the vibe, and this was out of Omnisphere, so it just kind of had a really nice floaty feel to it. And a really important part of building our demos is the layering, and it's the dynamic aspect. So as I'm thinking through these songs, as the song is going, I want to keep building, keep adding. Now that might not be new parts, but it might be new sounds. That way, by the time we get to the end of the song, we've got the most stuff in. Everybody's in, whatever the band, the virtual band, whatever it looks like. We've kind of building towards that, and then once we get to that final chorus, usually that final outro, kind of everybody is in. So we have to keep that in mind as we're building our demos. And as an example of that, at this final chorus here, this final outro, I've got a couple additional elements. This organ part that's like very high up in the register. And I've got one more kind of cool synth line here. Kind of reminds me of like a little kid's toy box. One thing I love to do is add a vocal hook that sings along with the melody of the lead line. So I did that throughout here at a couple spots. So here at the end, you can kind of hear what that sounds like. And one thing I forgot to mention is, as I was building this song, I actually did sing in a lead vocal melody of my own, just because since I had the work tape, but it wasn't lined up to the track, it just made it not as simple, especially writing some of these lead lines. So I did sing in kind of a scratch vocal just to keep myself on pace and on target for the arrangement. And then it helped me build all the lead lines, especially around having an actual vocal in. But now we're gonna jump into Hannah's actual vocals and what I did to them to add them into the project. So Hannah sent me 3 well-sung, well-recorded vocal tracks. So we've got our main vocal here, which I called verse. Then she sent me a harmony vocal, and then she sent me a tag vocal. I know that Hannah's using a Universal Audio Volt, and I think she's using an SM7B microphone. So here's what it sounds like.
I won't rest, I can't stop.
Clean.
Till the whole world hears the sound of me singing is good, good news.
So I just got tuning on here, really mild. Next down, we've got the Silk vocal, adding some EQ. Next, we've got one of my favorite new plugins from Waves, the IDX. Next down, we've got Decapitator, which adds some saturation. Depending on the vocal, I may not use Decapitator because it can kind of be a little bit heavy, but for Hannah's vocal, it really does a great job. Next, we've got Graphic EQ. Next down, RVox with some additional compression. CLA vocals is next. Next, we've got the magma tubes, BB tubes, some additional saturation, channel EQ, curves equator, my other new favorite waves plugin, just doing some dynamic EQ. And then last in this chain is the de-esser. Then I've got the usual suspects. I've got Valhalla Room, Valhalla Vintage Verb on buses.
I won't rest, I can't stop till the whole world hears the sound of me singing is good news.
Then for these harmony vocals, it's basically the same kind of chain, just a little bit less on it. Just the tuning, the silk, the IDX, the curves, and the de-esser. And then of course the sends for reverb. And then this final vocal she sent over was just this good news part for the tag.
Hallelujah, I'm singing is good news.
Got that vocal pan a little bit to the right just to keep it out of the middle and out of the way of the lead vocal. And since this is a demo, I'm not going through and doing all of the automation. I'm not going any of the heavy editing that I would do on a full production. However, I am going to do a bit of mixing and use one of my favorite secret weapons in Logic. So let me show you how I finish one up and get it ready to share. And so for just the final elements, I am going to go over here to the mix bus / master bus because I typically don't do a full mastering session on these demos. So first thing I have is this CLA mixdown, which just kind of glues it all together. We've got the graphic EQ. So I've got the curves equator again on the master bus here. And here's what I would consider my Logic secret weapon. It's this mastering plugin. I mean, it does a great job and I love using it, especially for demos, quick demos like this. So I'm going to turn it off and then bring it on and you're going to hear the pretty significant difference.
Justified and say, hallelujah, singing is good. Hallelujah, singing is good.
Just sounds great, and especially for, like I said, for a demo, man, I mean, you can't really beat the quality difference from just throwing on this kind of AI generated thing. And then the last thing I like to do is just a limiter, just put it at -1 and make our levels good.
I'm singing is good news. Hallelujah, I'm singing is good news.
So as you can hear, we've got a really solid demo here. And like I said, I would call this a next level demo. Basically, the breakdown of this is I came at it the first day, I did the initial programming, then I came back into a separate session and added some of those ear candy elements and made sure that it sounded really great. And I've already sent it to Hannah and she loved it and she's excited to pitch it to her church. Part of the process is just taking it from the work tape, which we all have those songs on our phone. You know, we've got that song. I love that song and man, I wish that I could have a good representation of it. This probably was a few hours, maybe 3 to 4 hours total to go from a work tape that I'd never heard or played before to this. And it's not that hard of a process. And if you're interested in the process, I actually have released a new course called Next Level Demos, where I basically walk through this entire process in greater detail from the acoustic tracking all the way through. And the cool part is I've included it as a bonus course within my main course, Logic Pro X for Artists and Songwriters, where I walk through the entire production process from start to finish. And that does cover all of the more advanced mixing and mastering and tracking and additional vocals because, you know, this is a demo, so there'd be a lot more that I would do to this before it's a release-ready song. But as you can hear, it's very professional and ready to share. So if you're interested in checking out the course, click the link below. And if you're not sure if you want to go and jump into the full course yet, I actually have a free demo production workshop replay that you can watch right now for free. It's a little bit over an hour of basically how I create that first draft of the demo. And then essentially the Next Level Demos course is the second half, the full draft to take it to where it's ready to pitch and ready to share our music at the highest level possible. So I hope you do that. I hope you got a lot out of this video. If you have any questions, comment below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one.